For one person not currently in office, my impact in the traditional way is limited. But as I've made clear throughout this campaign and even during my time outside of the legislature before becoming a candidate, I am not afraid to stand up and say what is right. And I also would be happy to reach out to a community of people and talk about the best way that we can bring focus and attention to this issue. I actually worked, when I was doing some consulting work, with groups like Global Campuses to help them figure out how to demonstrate clearly how it is that they're making an impact and the effectiveness of their work. But I would be more than happy to work with anyone in this room to make sure that the governor knows that those kinds of cuts are simply not acceptable. Please either come find me afterwards or sign up on our website and go through that so that we can make sure that we make a call to action now. Thank you.
Secretary of State Markowitz.
And, I serve in executive office. I run the Secretary of State's office. And I actually talk to people in Vermont everywhere, every day, across our state. And certainly as a candidate, I'm spending a significant amount of time traveling the state, talking to individuals across Vermont. And one of the things I'm talking about are these budget cuts and the real impacts they're going to have on people, on the most vulnerable among us. And that's what I'm doing with my bully pulpit. There are a lot of ways that all of you can impact these decisions. I'm running for governor because I actually am sick of the top-down way that decisions are being made in Montpelier, that the fifth floor controls things instead of people who are actually delivering services in our community mental health centers or within the Agency of Human Services. And that's really got to change because it has a real impact on the people that we're serving.
Senator Racine.
Dan, I'm going to use my bully pulpit in two ways. One, as a candidate, I'm going to talk about these issues the way I've talked to you about them this evening. But secondly, I'm chair of the Senate Health and Welfare Committee, and that committee, as many of you know, has been offering opportunities for the last several years as budgets have been threatened, has offered opportunities for people to come and tell their stories. And we hear those stories and we take them to heart and we become advocates for those cuts that would have the worst impacts, the toughest impacts on Vermonters, on the most vulnerable Vermonters. So I will continue to do that as we go forward. This is a process in the legislature that involves 150 members of the House and 30 members of the Senate, and I'm going to use my vote and my position as best I can to advocate for a budget which does not hurt the most vulnerable in this society.
Stan, I'll just say I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. And the reason I'm running for governor is because I believe I've proven as president of the Senate that I can get tough things done. In the last 12 months, we passed marriage equality. We have shut down an aging nuclear power plant that should have been shut down some time ago. We have got the troops home for Christmas so they can be with their family holidays. And we have overridden the governor's veto for the first time in Vermont history because of cuts like that. They are bound and determined to privatize state government and to cut essential services to destroy our community-based system. I will continue to use the power of my office to ensure that that doesn't happen as I have for the past 4 years.
I don't think any of us wants to have the session end the way it did last year. But I sincerely believe that there's a real possibility that we will end up in a situation where the governor will veto the budget that we will pass. And it's going to be about these sorts of values and our refusal to make reductions that have profound negative long-term impacts on individuals and their families. We're going to try hard to avoid that situation. But I'm going to tell you right here and now, I believe that that is a real possibility. And if we want to pass a good budget that's not balanced on your backs, and if you want to veto it, that's okay with me.
Next question.
My name is Karen Kelly. I'm from Burlington. I want you to look at me. I want you to know my face, and I want you to know my name. I'm a family member. I'm a wife. I'm the mother of an autistic son. I'm a consumer. I have more letters that come after my name with a psychiatric diagnosis than you'd ever remember. I want to know what's going to happen when they cut the services at Howard Community Services to my 25-year-old son, who has lived independently for 3 years, 1 month, and 5 days, but who will not be able to continue to do so if they take away anything more. We voluntarily gave back thousands of dollars in respite money that we could use now for him because he has no friends. We need it for a peer support program. We can't get that for him. I'm not well enough to take care of him. His father has to work full-time. He suffers from depression. Look at my face, and you tell me what you're going to tell my son when we say, you have to move home because there aren't the services available anymore to let you be independent.
I'm going to start with Secretary of State Markowitz and move it down.
What I'm going to say is thank you for telling us your story, because it's so easy to think about budgets as numbers and figures on a page, when really it's people and families and human lives. And it's important for you to keep talking about your life and what it means for you as a practical matter to the decision makers, the people who are writing the budget right now, signing the budget. You have to get that out, all of you in this room who have personal stories where you're going to be affected by these budget cuts. You have got to speak up. You've just got to speak up. You know, there is a significant budget deficit now, right? We all know it. It's $150 million. Decisions are going to be made. Cuts are going to be made. If you want to protect what you have in your life, you have to tell your stories. It's very powerful, and I thank you for it.
Senator Racine.
I'm going to start by saying I wish Jim Douglas and Brian Dunne were at this table to answer your questions. Your question. Right, and Brian Dunne isn't here to respond either, and I think that's a lack of respect, frankly. My answer to you is the same answer I've been giving tonight, is that I will do whatever must be done to make sure those cuts do not occur. And when I look at what the human services budget cuts across the board would do, is they undermine the services that your family's relying on, like other families are relying on. It's not just the issues affecting folks here. It's, as I mentioned earlier, it's issues affecting children, elderly family members, and others. And I'm willing to go out there and say, I will do whatever I can as a senator to find the revenues to pay for the services, because it's not acceptable to do what's going to happen to your son.
Senator Shumlin.
I'll add to what Doug has said, because I agree with much of what he said, to say that we're going to continue to stand by you. And I do think that we should make a judgment in this room about who is more committed to the values that you just articulated as a state, the way we treat our most vulnerable citizens, the way we treat their supported families. Is it the 5 people on this panel, one of which of us should become governor, or is it the guy that won't show up? And I think that's a really important question. I agree with Doug that if you don't have the courage to come and listen, if you don't have the wisdom and benefit of your experience, how are you supposed to lead the state of Vermont? The job of government is to level the playing field between those that have and those who don't, to ensure that our most vulnerable Vermonters and their families aren't left behind. That's why, frankly, I got in the car at 11:30 at night when we need to override the last governor's veto and sit at the end of that dirt road in people's houses, begging people to uphold that veto. Why the Speaker and I worked so hard to get that vote, and that's why we'll stick with you again. But the question should be addressed to the folks that are making the cuts.
Let's hear now from Senator Susan Bartlett.
I will tell you that no one's going to say that